This will be a Yongyea Diablo Immortal pay-to-win reaction video. Yongyea put out a video talking about the pay-to-win situation in Diablo Immortal because of the review bombing. I did my own coverage of it this morning. I'm actually bringing people over from that coverage. Just so we're clear, our reaction content is very charitable, interactive, and transformative. I don't just play the full video and not say anything. There'll be lots of pausing. You're probably going to find that I agree with most of what Yang is saying. I think he makes great content. We will obviously provide a link below in the description to his original video to go and give that support. I'm a significantly smaller content creator, so I don't have delusions that we'll be like helping his video, but we do want to give proper, we want to attribute the video that we're using. And again, we won't even be watching the full video. He gets in like an article and stuff at the end that I just don't have any interest in reacting to. So if you're watching this video as a past broadcast, we're just starting to dip our toe into reaction content, and we did it with Asmongold. We did an Asmongold video about a week ago, and we got really good response to that. And I'm going to go ahead and redirect and bring everybody over now, and I'm going to pull up the video, and he doesn't hold back, okay? He does not hold back in his video. So there he is. There's Yang, looking handsome with all of his great video game toys behind him, and he immediately kind of comes out swinging. If you're curious what his position is, he doesn't keep you in the dark for very long.
Diablo Immortal, the free-to-play mobile Diablo game that's also been ported over to PC, is pay-to-win loot box infested garbage. So he doesn't make you watch. He doesn't make you watch. How long is the video? It's a 26-minute video. So you don't have to watch all 26 minutes if you're curious what Yongyea thinks. He doesn't hold back at all from the get-go. Now, we covered this morning, and the real tension that we've been drawing is, can you play this game with eyes wide open and spend no money, and is that okay? People were saying, like, well, Asmongold is supporting it. Well, Asmongold is putting the game on display. He is spending money, so you can see exactly what it's looking like. He's ripping the veil off, okay? And Yang is also trying to say, listen, this is terrible, and here's all the reasons why. So let's see his approach to the argument. Let's see what he has to say, because we do like to interact with the video. I don't want to just sit here and watch it. Yang makes good content. We don't want to just like play the video. We do want to call on people to go watch the original content and support the person's content that we are using. Who would have thought? And the worst part is that underneath it all is actually a very solid Diablo game whose endgame gameplay loop is completely ruined by its over-reliance on players having to pay to make reasonable progress. Those who don't pay up, well, they'll be stuck with insufferable grind that makes this game far from viable.
Now, before we continue, here, I'm going to get out of the way so we're not in front of him. Before we continue, we don't now that shows a 1.7. We checked it this morning and it was at a 0.8. So it has dropped significantly from the time that Yang recorded this. It also now has over 750 votes instead of just 117. So clearly this is a mounting thing that's happening with the review bombs, okay? Now, I don't necessarily know if I agree with Yang's take that it's an insufferable grind if you don't spend money. That is a little hyperbolic. I don't think he's incorrect. At a certain point, that is likely true, okay? Many people are saying there's the end game, there's a progression halting thing that they do, like if you want to continue leveling, that aspect is in place to prevent you from sort of continuing. And that's actually something that I take greater issue with, because pay to win is something that you volitionally choose to interact with, and you support and indulge in a culture that builds that world. But I don't think arbitrarily stopping people from progressing and charging them money is acceptable. So Yang in his mind may have that in his mind when he says, oh, the grind's insufferable if you don't spend money. Many people are already saying that's not exactly true. You can play this game free to play and have a perfectly fine time up until a certain point, right? Now,
Somebody in chat says, I think he was specifying about the endgame. He does go into more detail later on. So I just wanted to get that out of the way. Like, if you watch this video and immediately dismiss Yongyea and you say, oh, he's just being hyperbolic and he's just exaggerating, he has the end game in mind, which is something you need to have in mind. If you're going to go into this game and spend $0, you need to know what awaits you. Go in eyes wide open, okay? Plenty of people will play through on one character, get to the end game and tap out and maybe just make another character, but plenty of people will get to the end game and be like, oh my gosh, these guys were correct in what they said.
Which is why you're seeing a user Metacritic score of 1.7, already well on its way to setting records when it comes to some of the worst user-rated games of all time, a specialty of Blizzard's as of late. And looking at the user reviews, you can see that there are plenty of complaints surrounding its pay-to-win elements. Predatory pay-to-win clone of Diablo 3, I wish I didn't have a phone now, will cost thousands of dollars to hit max progression, just gambling without payout. Complete pay-to-win crap. Blizzard is merely a husk of its former self, thanks Activision. Unfortunately, the Blizzard of old is long gone, where games were made for games by gamers. This no longer exists. Instead, this is an executive cash cow dressed up as a game. There's some impressive merit for the sheer size and ambition for the game, but it's clear that to win at all, you need to spend money, and a lot of it. That's pretty much the gist of it, and making this all the more insulting is the fact that just a few days ago, back in May 30th, 2022, a developer from Blizzard, senior game designer Scott Burgess, said that Diablo Immortal strives to be a true Diablo experience, even as it breaks new ground. Scrolling down, you'll see that...
Okay, hang on. I don't want to get into that just yet. I do want to be fair to the fact that a lot of the people going to Metacritic and leaving these reviews, some of them could be literally doing it with zero game experience. They could have opened the game, opened the store, and then went and wrote this review. They could be doing it just because they like review bombing it. They could be doing it because their friends told them to. A lot of the reviews are showing themselves to be a lot of copy-paste, a lot of saying similar things. We've seen this before. We've seen this when, companies and games get criticized for decisions and for things that they do that the community doesn't like. Sometimes this happens with the way that they, run the narrative or run the character selection. So we've seen sort of the mindless, thoughtless review bombing before. So we don't want to act like just those comments alone seal the fate of the game or a problem. I said this morning in my open and in my show about this, I said, listen, this may be a blip on their radar. They might not even care that a couple thousand, even if it gets up into the thousands of ratings, right? Because right now it's like 750 something. Let's say it gets into like the thousands on the ratings. They might not care at all because it's a mobile game that could very easily have hundreds of thousands of players every hour, every day, just funneling interaction, playtime, and money into the ecosystem, into the game, which, is going to mean they don't really care about what happens here, right? Is his camera frozen? I paused the video. Yeah, I paused the video so that I could commentate. So he's not live. Like, he and I are not having a conversation, just so you guys know. We're pulling up his video and reacting to it. All the comments he read aloud sounded like pretty accurate and legitimate observations and opinions on the game. That is true, Distorted, but there are many more on there that are very clearly not... They're just sort of going there to say the same thing. I'm just leaving room for that happening, Distorted, because we all know the minute a game starts to get review bombed, tons of people are going to go and add to the review bomb who have not played the game. I'm leaving room for that, okay? That we could end up with, a 5,000, user rating of 0.5, and out of that 5,000, 2,000 of the people have actually played the game. I'm just giving an example of how internet culture works. Now, he turns the heat up. Yong turns the heat up in this section of the video because he turns his attention to interviews. Now, one of the people, Barrier, can you get me that tweet again? I can probably scroll up and find it. I've got it. Never mind. I've got it. Wyatt Cheng has responded to criticism from the community. I will show that tweet momentarily as a part of the dialogue. Okay, because he was the "you guys don't have phones" guy. And he's responded to some of the criticism based on commentary. Guys, remember, we're on our second stream of the day, so switch to live chat so you can see what everybody's saying and smash the like button. Let's continue watching Yongyea's comments on this.
Burgess was asked about claims that this game could end up being pay to win. Elements of the game have caused them to raise the dreaded pay to win alarm. Burgess didn't address that point specifically, but said that the goal is to ensure the game is fun for everyone, regardless if a player is spending money or not. Well, that was a lie.
Okay. Again, I always want to be very careful before pulling out that was a lie or they lied, so-and-so lied. I don't like throwing around the accusation of lie so easily. I'm not saying that Yang is doing that. But in this particular situation, I didn't find what the guy said to be just a flat-out lie. You can play the game and have fun and spend $0. Like, I have. Snow is saying it. Other people in chat are saying it. Like, fun is subjective. I'm having fun and spending no dollars. So it's not a lie if it's perception. Like, if the perception of the player, if there's plenty of players right now playing Diablo Immortal and spending $0 and they are having fun, then I think it's a bit much to say, oh, that was a lie. But there's more commentary. There's more things that he's going to interact with. I'm just always very hesitant because there are people in the industry, there are content creators, there are bloggers, there are journalists in disguise as bloggers who lie all the time. Like, they mislead the public, they say things that aren't true. And this is similarly to when I say you don't want to call pay to progress pay to win. Diablo is pay to win, by the way. I'm not saying Diablo Immortal is not pay to win, but there are games like Warframe that are pay to progress. The reason it's important to call, Warframe pay to progress and Diablo pay to win is they're very different. I think that nuance is extremely important. So I don't think we want to immediately throw the challenge flag on the play and say, oh, that was a lie. We don't want to do that too. We want to be very careful when we do that, because I think a lot of people did that with Hello Games and No Man's Sky, and they did it inaccurately, incorrectly. So, Riker, another wicked popular Diablo content creator, says the same thing about it. He 100% agrees that it's pay-to-win game. Yeah, I watched Riker's video. He's got a good voice.
Going back, I played the beta without spending $1. There were a few of us on the team that did that because we wanted to see what the experience was like. And I'll say that I was in a top dark house in the shadows. I kept up with World Paragon. I was competitive in PvP. I would often get the MVP ranking. So we're doing things to make sure the game is fun for everyone. Anytime we have a purchase, we want to make sure it's a good value. That's kind of the goal we have on that side.
Hang on, I want to go back so that quote's on screen. So, I actually take issue with their defense here, so I think Yong's good to point this out. The problem with what they're saying here in this particular block of text is, okay, you played during the beta, and you quote-unquote kept up with Paragon. You quote-unquote were competitive in PvP, and you got the MVP ranking. Okay, how many whales did you play against? Was there an ecosystem? Was there a culture of pay to win in place yet? Was the game out in the wild yet? Now, I know one of the YouTubers I watched this morning pointed out the fact that there are really high level, like really, really good players that are intentionally going into PvP with the hopes of squashing Johnny Credit Card's dreams, right? I call him Johnny Credit Cards. Like, Johnny Credit Card's going in, swiping, buying all the best stuff, going into PvP, hoping that he can win, and really talented players are trying to squash their dreams with skill as opposed to with money. So I don't think I'm not going to say it's not possible for you to be competitive and to win, but I think this quote is a terrible, terrible example of like, oh, the game's going to be fine. You played in beta. You played in a closed environment where the pay-to-win culture had not been fostered. How many whales were in the ecosystem at that point? And someone in chat is saying, not anymore. PvP is completely broken. If you pay, you smash, period, right? There are going to be exceptions, right? There are going to be exceptions of people that can go into PvP and win without spending money, but what Eugene is saying, would the beta even have the pay-to-win stuff? Exactly. Would it have been the true testing ground? Again, how many people are going to go into a beta and become a whale? It's unlikely. It's not the greatest testing environment, right? Pretty sure there weren't microtransactions in the beta. So, of course you were competitive. Of course you kept up. If there were no microtransactions, this is a terrible, terrible quote. So Yang is good to point this out and blast it for being really, really bad. Let's see what he says in response.
Well, you certainly failed miserably on all fronts. I don't know what version of the game the developers played that said, yeah, no, this is okay. Audiences are going to love this. This is going to be fun regardless of whether you pay or not. But it definitely wasn't the version that people are playing now. A major red flag was when 5 days ago was announced that Diablo Immortal would not be launching in certain regions, specifically Belgium and the Netherlands, 2 countries that immediately jumped on loot box regulation after EA pushed the goalpost way too far. It was announced that the game will not be releasing in Belgium or the Netherlands on launch due to laws in the countries regarding loot boxes. Over time, we did start seeing media outlets and content creators giving their impressions. Stephen All
right, before we get into this guy's content, hang on. I'm trying to just back it up a frame so that we're not looking at a tweet. There we go. Okay, so under this heading, this part of the video about it being banned from Belgium and the Netherlands. So Belgium and the Netherlands are anti-loot boxes. So we need to be really, really clear here. I think Yang is perfectly fine and clear in his coverage. He just doesn't spend much time on it. So I want to pause for his sake, for your sake, for everybody's sake. Let's just be clear. Diablo Immortal was not banned or blocked in Belgium and the Netherlands. Any game with loot boxes cannot launch in those countries. So Blizzard would have had to go in and actively change the entire fabric of their micro store to launch in those countries. So it's not like the game launched and then got banned or blocked. This is literally a big giant wall that unless you take that out of your game, you cannot come in. I believe Lost Ark is blocked as well. So just to be clear in the coverage, in my coverage, I think Yang is clear in his coverage, but for his sake, as well as your sake, I want to make sure we make that distinction. It's not that it's like blocked or banned, like it was targeted as a game. They have the option of creating versions of the game for the Belgium or the Netherlands market, but they choose not to. Does that make sense? So I just want to be clear that can get thrown around as like, you know, I'm not saying anybody's being clickbaity. It is YouTube though. So there's plenty of people out there that could be clickbaiting like Diablo Immortal banned from, well, yes and no. We want to make sure we're nuanced in the coverage and fair to the reality of the situation. It's not as clean as, you know, somebody that goes into a country and misbehaves and gets kicked out and gets banned kind of a thing, right? Do you think government oversight is the way to go here? Should this be the basis that we aim for? Something that Yang is going to touch on in his video, some of the other coverage that I watched, the concern is this is a giant title, this is a giant company, this could be the beginning of this just sort of showing up everywhere, and then that's when you would need the government to step in and say, okay, what's predatory, what's not, what's ethical, what's not, what should we protect the consumer from, what should we not protect the consumer from, like what's acceptable, what is not. So that is obviously on the horizon. I think it's on the horizon. I think government's going to step in. The loot box gambling thing was just sort of the beginning, and that didn't get a lot of traction because a lot of companies diverted away from that, and now they're getting to, you know, other methods of microtransactions that could get oversight from the government for sure. So
Stephen Totillo straight up just tweeted, can confirm that Diablo Immortal is indeed a mobile game. And you can see the screenshots that he took to show this, from the ability to purchase Eternal Orbs currencies and Platinum currencies, 2 separate premium currencies essentially, to being able to buy a variety of materials by purchasing the premium currency to spend on this stuff. You've got cosmetics that you can purchase from anywhere between $15 to $25. And finally, you've got Eternal Legendary Crest. This is where the loot box aspect comes in. So let me explain.
Okay, so before he gets into, let's get a better frame for him to be paused on. I don't like him looking like he's asleep. Okay, so I want to be clear about something in the realm of microtransactions. So he just combed through. There's micro spending for a specific currency. There's loot boxes. There's cosmetics. I think the thing that frustrates me the most about Diablo Immortal is they could have made money hand over fist just selling cosmetics. And that would have gotten its own breed of criticism of like, you're making all the best stuff cost money. I can't earn cool stuff in the dungeons and in the content and the rifts or whatever. You put all the pretty dope, awesome, whatever stuff, you put all of that into the store, okay? That's the kind of criticism that I don't think gets a lot of traction with me because, again, it's completely optional. It's completely non-game impacting. So he's going to get into the details of how all this works, and it starts to sound like satire. If you watch Force Gaming, like Jedi's the Force, like that's what I'm saying, the word force, as in I'm going to force you to do something. Force Gaming has a wonderful video on this, and as you're watching Force Gaming's video, it starts to feel like, surely this is satire. The layers upon layers upon layers of spending and chances, it gets absurd. It truly gets absurd. So cosmetics with transmog will make you a ton of money. Yes, it will, but we're talking about mountains of cash with how they have this structured and the way that we know whales and players will respond.
Den of Geek released this article, Diablo Immortal Microtransactions Explained. Is it a pay-to-win game? That breaks down the whole monetization system of this game pretty well. So let's read through this, and eventually we'll delve into some of the opinions that various news outlets have had after playing the game. Diablo Immortal has 3 forms of currency: gold, platinum, and eternal orbs. Gold is the non-premium in-game currency that cannot be purchased with real money. Platinum is odd. It can be purchased using real money, but can also be earned by selling certain in-game items or completing special tasks. Platinum is primarily used to complete special premium in-game transactions that often yield powerful and valuable items. Most players will probably end up using most of their platinum to forge legendary gems, which is essentially the end-game loot grind. You want to find these legendary gems that add powerful modifiers to your weapons and apply them to your gear. And then last but not least, you got...
Okay, before we get to Eternal Orbs, so the gems thing is, we touched on that in the reaction video we did with Asmongold, and it was a total reactionception. I was not trying to be cheeky, but we watched a video of Asmon watching another video. It was amazing. It was so meta. But in that video, we got into the gems and the percentages and what it can mean, and that's where so much of the pay-to-win aspects come. And I think Yong touches on it. If he doesn't touch on it, one of the videos touched on the fact that attack and defense ratings are only like 10%, and a lot of people thought, oh, that 10% is something you'll be able to grind to make up the difference. Like if somebody pays for that 10% bonus, you can grind and earn the 10% bonus. But the bonuses go far beyond that, and it gets into that in this video as well as others, as just to how bad it is.
Eternal Orbs, the game's straight-up microtransactions currency. You cannot earn Eternal Orbs through gameplay. Eternal Orbs can be used to directly and indirectly acquire some of the most valuable items in the game. Specifically, you can use them to acquire Reforge Stones, Dawning Echoes, and Legendary Crests.
Now, Reforge has nothing to do with Reforge Stones. Here at Reforge Gaming, we have no affiliation with Diablo Immortal. So this is the one that's going to trip a lot of people up, because you cannot earn orbs through gameplay, and then they can be used to directly or indirectly acquire some of the most valuable items in the game. So this is, again, where many folks are going to say this is crossing another line. You don't just have something that can be bought if you don't want to earn it. This is something that can only be purchase. Now, if you have a currency like V-Bucks in Fortnite, for example, you can't really earn V-Bucks unless you buy the Battle Pass, and you can earn V-Bucks throughout the season to buy another Battle Pass, right? That's something that they weave into the Battle Pass, but you can't like play and earn V-Bucks. One of the reasons that's not egregious or problematic is because the V-Bucks are used to buy cosmetics, making your character look cool, making your backpack or your pickaxe look cool. So having a currency that cannot be earned is totally fine when used for cosmetics. They do the same thing in Destiny with silver, V-Bucks in Fortnite. But in this game, eternal orbs are used to acquire valuable items. So you're talking about a currency that cannot be earned in-game that is directly tied to power. And that's where just one of the foundational aspects of this game becomes extremely problematic right out of the gate.
Which are the loot boxes that yield those legendary gems that you're working towards for the end game. Loot boxes come in the form of Elder Rifts and Crests. Diablo Immortal doesn't feature traditional loot boxes, at least so far as I can tell. However, the game's Elder Rifts and Crests essentially serve the same purpose. Elder Rifts are specialized zones filled with monsters that you have to kill. Upon completing an Elder Rift, you'll be rewarded with a series of items. Basically, a mini dungeon whose rewards can be influenced by the crest that you purchase to make sure you set a floor for the kinds of rewards you'll get. If you want to increase or guarantee the odds of acquiring high-value items, using items known as crests is the way to go. Crests are inserted into an Elder Rift before you enter the zone, along with increasing your odds of acquiring certain loot. They also add random modifiers to the Elder Rift that can make them easier, harder, or simply different than they would otherwise be. The more crests you add to an Elder Rift, the more you change its layout and the loot odds.
So there's a great clip floating around right now of Asmongold doing this, okay? He goes in with nothing, he doesn't do any of the crests, and then he does one where he spent like $20. And the difference is comical, but also like, oh my gosh. And what this is they're creating all these micro moments of, oh, if you're going to engage with this, you might as well spend the money. So if you're going to run a rift, you might as well spend this money. If you're going to be enhancing your gear or going for more gear, you might as well buy the orbs. Do you see what they're doing is it's not like a one-time thing that you buy or a one shop that you go to and then you go on about your day. It's interwoven into the fabric of the game. It is baked right into the crust of the game. So when you go to run a rift, you will be given that option to load these crests in. And when you see as easy as it was for Asmongold to spend $20 and get ding, 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 all these things dropping, and when he spends $0, he didn't even get gear, okay? You're starting to see why this is so insidious, why this is so bad, because it's not just an optional storefront. It is in the game. It is the game. You can't just run a rift free to play and not see that as a huge aspect of incentivization. A lot of the times what a video game is going to do, it's going to incentivize engagement. The more you play, the more you grind, the more chances you get. What this game is doing is it's actually incentivizing spending to get those chances and to get those drops. It's one thing, I think, to sell cosmetics. It's another thing to sell, currency that you can use to like invest in your gear because you don't feel like earning the currency. It's going to take too long. This is far more egregious and way more over the line than most pay-to-win games. That's my opinion, and I think Yang is good to break this part of it down to show just how staggered it is. It starts to become comical as they list the crests and the orbs and the this and the that. It's like there's so many different currencies and layers that we haven't even gotten into the 1 to 5 star legendary items. We haven't even gotten into that.
And because enemies in rifts are generally more likely to drop high-value items, including legendary gear, that makes running those Elder Rift dungeons with a party a pretty common late-game activity. And the best way to increase the odds of you getting the rewards that you want, those rare legendary gems, is by inserting crests, which are best earned and most easily acquired by, you guessed it, spending real money. As Zen of Geek puts it, use crests in Elder Rifts to acquire legendary gems. These are incredibly powerful items that offer general buffs to your character and enhance the effectiveness of some of their specific skills and or attacks. Legendary gems can be acquired through several means. Buy them with platinum from the marketplace. You can craft them using runes and platinum. You can get them as a reward on the battle pass, or you can trade in fading embers or hilts to fairly rare items to special merchants in exchange for them. All signs indicate that this game is favoring monetization for you to be able to earn these legendary gems at a reasonable pace, otherwise you'll be grinding forever. The most reliable way to acquire legendary gems is to use rare and legendary crests on Elder Rifts. While those crests can be obtained in-game via the Battle Pass or as very, very rare in-game rewards, the easiest way to acquire those crests is by using Eternal Orbs, the premium currency, aka real money. And
that's the fundamental issue. As I was just sort of getting there, he echoed it in a very similar way, that spending is being incentivized. So, and don't hear that and gloss over that. You have to see the difference between games that offer optional spending and games that incentivize spending. It's very, very different. It's very, very different. In one game, you may feel like it's there, it's optional, I don't have to do that if I don't want to. In other games, when it's incentivized, then you have to wonder how many design choices, how many logistical decisions, gameplay loop decisions have been made in order to bolster spending. What have I always said? I've always said that the content loop is God. Everything should be subservient to the content loop, because if you turn your back on the content loop, your game will fail. Sadly, what's happening in Diablo Immortal is the content loop is God, and it has been made to be impeccably rewarding and satisfying, and the dopamine hits are constant, and the loop is short and satisfying, but the gameplay loop, the content loop, is so interwoven and baked throughout with spending motivation, it's actually far worse than a game that says, buy these packs, and then you might play better. Because what they're hoping is you go and play FIFA and Madden, and you play against a god tier team, and then you feel you need to, quote, pay to win, right? This game's entirely different. What this game is saying is your actual content loop experience will be less than, and it will be hindered and not as good as if you were spending money. The thing is, in a loot game, the loot aspect is an integral part of the fun factor. If you're not paying, then you'll be bored running rifts for a couple of blues. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. They have taken the principle of the gameplay loop is God, and all should be subservient to the gameplay loop, the content loop. They are obeying that rule, and yet the gameplay loop and the content loop is so interwoven with monetization, incentivization, that it's corrupt in my mind. Like, it's not a good gameplay loop anymore. It's not a good content loop anymore. And I really enjoyed this game, and I've wholeheartedly admitted, if I was a more traditional workaday dad, I would be playing this game because I could probably avoid spending money and enjoy myself to a certain degree, right? The main problems are the Shadows, Immortals factions, aka whale clans. Those highest in PvP from those clans will get the ability to fight in the biggest raid in the game, which is the biggest and best rewards in the game. Yeah, and it's money. It's money all the way down.
That's just the gameplay affecting stuff. You've, of course, got various cosmetic microtransactions you can purchase, about $15 to $25 each, depending on how many Eternal Orbs you choose to buy and how much you decided to spend them. It'd be one thing if this game's microtransactions strictly confine themselves to these cosmetics. It is free to play. It has to earn its money back somehow. Fair enough. But it crossed way over the line with its pay-to-win loot box implementation. The kind of stuff you'd expect out of low-effort cash grab mobile games, not a mainline Diablo entry that, yes, was being made for mobile, but some people hoped that Diablo Immortal could be one of those games to prove that not all mobile games have to be garbage, but instead it's only made that stigma that much worse.
So, I don't like to freeze on bad frames. I don't like to freeze on bad frames. Like, I don't want to look like we're mocking him because I like Young. I think what he's saying is so important because I already highlighted the fact that, like, if they would have just stuck with cosmetics, it would have been totally acceptable, and they would have made a ton of money, but a ton of money's not enough. You know, they looked at the projections, they looked at the sales, they looked at the potential engagement that they could get from the game and the store and the monetization, and they decided to absolutely throw the entire kitchen sink at us. And like he says, for it to be a mainline title, for it to be a big title, we can't. I don't think this is an overstatement. I think this will have a bigger effect on the industry than Candy Crush, and that's saying a lot. Like, Candy Crush changed mobile games, like the Candy Crushification of mobile games. That game became so popular and was so riddled with pay to keep playing. That was all throughout that game. They would set up certain levels that were almost unbeatable unless you paid for, like, you know, some hammer, lollipop hammer or something to smash and get your way through. And I think Diablo Immortal will have a far greater and a far-reaching impact on the gaming culture than Candy Crush has had. The worst part is people saying just accepting this is okay, acting like, because, well, they're having fun, and excuses the gross monetization. Uricon's video went hard, and I commented that. He said, if you pay $5 to $10, you are the problem, and it's true. And then Asmongold, I'll show everyone how disgusting the game is by spending a bunch of money in their game. I fully agree with Asmongold doing what he's doing, and here's why, Cobain. I can hear why you would think that that's wrong, but what Asmongold is doing is he's dragging the game into the light for all to see it for what it is. To completely avoid the game entirely doesn't do as good of a job. Imagine how many people are watching his videos and are appalled at the spending required and then won't play or won't spend money. His amount of money going into the ecosystem is peanuts compared to the millions upon millions who will play and spend. So what Asmongold is doing is he's putting a spotlight on the game. It's like dragging a vampire into the light, right? It's going to be scraggly and screaming and burning, and you're like, oh my gosh, this is terrible. This is awful. So I actually agree with what Asmongold is doing. I think engaging to expose is better than just everybody being like, it's bad, don't play it, and then moving on with their day, right? It won't affect it, though. You don't know that. There are plenty of people that are going to watch Asmongold's videos, his clips, and his gameplay, and they are going to steer clear of the game because of it. It's a cautionary tale. It's a caution sign of, like, this is why, this is how bad the game is, etc. So I don't think him giving money to the ecosystem of Diablo Immortal is affecting, because, okay, on the same token, you're saying it won't have any effect. Well, then you have to admit and agree then that Asmongold's contribution to the financial success of Diablo Immortal won't have any effect at all. Like, if let's just say he gives them $10,000 after it's all said and done, do you honestly think that Blizzard would have been broken by him not giving them $10,000? Like, the $10,000 that he would have, or hypothetically decides to put into the game's ecosystem, would not have an impact on their margins at all. So you can't say it'll have no impact and then say it's having an impact at the same time. Those sound like it sounds almost like contradictory. So I think what he's doing is important. Let's continue with Yong's video.
Congrats, Blizzard. On top of everything, you've got the game's crafting and upgrade system to consider when it comes to monetization. Glowing shards are used to upgrade legendary and set items, can only be acquired by scrapping other legendary items, does not seem to have a direct way to purchase with real money, but you do have the opportunity to purchase platinum, which you can then use to acquire upgrade materials via merchants and the marketplace. There are ways to use premium currency to acquire more gear that you can then scrap for those materials. You can also acquire upgrade materials via bundles, battle pass boosts, and other premium purchase options that simply don't directly reward you with those materials. So there's no way to buy glow shards directly, but you can buy all this other stuff that, after an extra step, can be used to acquire upgrade materials like glowing shards. That extra step doesn't hide the fact that this is very much still pay to win.
Okay, so that's another example of what I was talking about. At every layer, the game is giving you a reason to spend money. So now we're not dealing with rifts, we're dealing with glowing shards, we're dealing with upgrades, we're dealing with investing into your gear. So at every stage, they're saying you can spend in order to speed, improve, or enhance. Like, at every portion of the game. This isn't punctiliar. It's not a one-time thing. It's not a one-off thing. It is quite literally in the DNA of the game. Diablo Immortal's DNA is pay to win all the way down from the bottom to the top. You're running a rift, you're buying a currency, you're enhancing your gear. We still haven't gotten to the legendary 1 to 5 star thing. I don't know if Yang even gets on that. I don't know if he does.
Then you got Reforge Stones, which are used to re-roll legendary items that grant them new stats and effects for those who are not satisfied with the current settings of legendary items. These Reforge Stones can be obtained via a special NPC called a Hilt Trader, but it's not always easy to acquire the Hilt items that the merchant treats as currency. Most Hilts are acquired via daily and weekly objectives, while the rest are found in rifts, battle pass rewards, and a variety of other endgame content. If you're not paying up, it takes quite a bit of effort to acquire these Reforge Stones. The easiest way to acquire them is, you guessed it, buy them directly from the in-game store using Eternal Orbs. Each Reforge Stone will set you back 100 Eternal Orbs, about $1.50 depending on how many orbs you buy at once. Oh, but it doesn't end there. It's layers upon layers of monetization. It's basically every form of monetization under the sun shoved in here. Diablo Immortal includes a battle pass with free and premium tracks. The premium track, known as the Empowered Pass, costs $5 to access, but a $15 option automatically unlocks 14 ranks of the premium track. And the free track is obviously just the worst version of the premium track, mostly rewards you with upgrade items, hilts, and similar in-game resources, while the premium track includes more, well, premium items like rare pieces of gear and legendary gems. Indeed, subscribing to the battle pass is one of the easiest ways to get legendary gems early in the game.
Okay, so this again is where I would have allowed this. I wouldn't have called foul on this. If you're selling cosmetics and you're selling an enhanced, and if you've got like free battle pass, enhanced battle pass, and premium battle pass, I'm actually totally fine with that. I think battle passes are an acceptable form of monetization because why? It's a one-time purchase. It's something that once purchased, you grind and are rewarded from it. I think battle passes are an acceptable form of monetization, especially in free-to-play games. I don't have any issue at all with this. This, along with cosmetics, would have made them buckets of cash. They're not satisfied with buckets of cash. They want oceans of cash, and that's why the other aspects of monetization are well in place. Asmongold's tactics of showing how bad the game is won't work. You say won't work, but again, he's deciding, okay, his conscience is telling him the best thing to do is to spend his own money to expose the game in the hopes of dissuading his supporters, other gamers, other viewers from funneling money into the ecosystem. So you're saying it won't work. You're at one level, you're correct. It won't stop the game from being successful and being played and people putting money into it. But he is acting on what he thinks is the right choice, which is to spend his own money to expose the game's monetization structures. So I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Sounds like a battle pass is pay to win, though. It's not traditional battle pass. Well, he did say right here, subscribing to the battle pass is one of the easiest ways to get legendary gems early in the game. But after that, no, right? You get those right off the rip, and then after that, you're not going to get any of them. So it's not. I would say it's a very low level pay to win. It's not the same as being. Again, I thought Josh Strife Hayes' description of pay to win was one where you can continue funneling money into and continually getting increased power, and therefore that makes it more insidious. If it's a one-time purchase that anybody can do one time and then anybody can earn those gems, that to me is totally fine. I don't have an issue with that. Even if the battle pass itself is giving you those legendary gems early in the game, which gives you a slight advantage in the early game. That's kind of like when you got the exotic right away for the battle pass in Destiny. It was like, that's not pay to win. Well, you could go and play PvP for a week or so and have the exotic and other people won't have it. I think that's very, very tenuous. So Asmon's also documenting it, buying all the predatory attempts at money to get the lawmakers' attention. Right, like a governing official is going to watch his video and have a clear indication that something is amiss, and that's a great way to draw attention to it and to get government oversight. You can cry and whine all you want on Reddit and the forums, but a visual representation is a very, very powerful one. I'm 100% positive that the amount of money Asmon spends on the game will net less than the people he has dissuaded from winning. Like, not even a single doubt in my mind that he is a net plus. I don't think he's a net plus at all. So, Josh Strife has some really good videos where he talks about this stuff. You also have to understand, Asmon isn't just putting the spotlight on pay to win. He's showing the exacerbated insanity of the predatory tactics in the game. Yeah, I don't think it's going to be a net plus. I think the average person watching his content would be dissuaded from giving money or supporting. So, could we get 20 more likes on the video? And let's just ask the question then. Is exposing, I can't type right now, is exposing Diablo Immortal pay to win going to help the game make more money? Simple question. Is exposing Diablo Immortal pay to win going to help them make more money? Yes or no? Yes or no? Let's keep watching Yong's video.
All of the best ways to get legendary gems are indeed monetization related. Then you've got various daily, weekly, and progression rewards tied to basically a subscription called Boon of Plenty, this microtransaction service that allows you to unlock additional rewards and certain perks like remote access to the market for $10 a month. That means you do need to re-up your subscription to that service every month in order to continue to acquire the rewards it offers. And the worst part is that even if you're paying for the subscription, it's possible to miss out on certain rewards if you're not basically logging in daily. It's actually possible to miss the additional items this premium service offers if you don't acquire them in time. While that service has been temporarily removed from the game due to negative feedback, it's worth keeping an eye on whether or not it will return in some form.
Okay, so they have removed that aspect because of the negative feedback. So they are responding to negative feedback at one level. So I misunderstood what Distorted said. Distorted is saying it will have a net positive influence and it'll cause less people to spend. Had to word it in different ways for YouTube character limit. Okay, yeah, I understand what you're saying now, Distorted. The best way to fight evil is to drag it into the light. It thrives in the dark. Note I chose evil for lack of a better word. Right. I don't. So here's the problem with this argument, okay? Because as a logician and a philosopher and somebody who's read lots of books and loves to debate and loves to think through all these problems and immoral conundrums and thought experiments and, you know, moral experiments, we have to establish the wrongness of it first before you can start launching into premises and conclusions about they shouldn't be doing this, this is wrong, people shouldn't be supporting it. Because people in chat are saying, well, there's guys out there just whaling it up, and they're content creators, and people watch them, and they make tons of money, and they're a whale, right? And you know, you're pointing that out, I would assume, to say that it's wrong. But the challenge that I have is that when you're giving something to a willing consumer base, I've always struggled with this in the Madden and the FIFA arguments. The Madden and the FIFA arguments, the thing that I struggle with is you have a willing consumer base, you have shareholders that are going to be very angry if you turn your nose up to insane profits. And if Diablo Immortal, you know, did all their sales projections and all of their market research, and they found that this type of game would earn them insane amounts of profit, it's really tough to say they shouldn't do that. From a purely economic standpoint, their shareholders would be upset if they didn't seek out and make as much money as possible. I think that's the greatest challenge to gaming remaining pure from this sort of influence, is because as gaming grows continually, it has grown in popularity and has become an absolute booming industry, companies will look at it and say, what's the research dictate? What sort of money can we make? We have a fiduciary duty to our shareholders. We have to increase margins and profit. We have to keep them happy. If we don't, then we will lose them. We could be sued by our shareholders if we don't do these things. So that's the real challenge, is they have like peeled up the rock and the nasty, gross underbelly of what can make money in gaming has been exposed, and they're all going to start doing it, because if they don't, their shareholders would say, what are you doing? Why are you not tapping into these markets? Why are you not tapping into these spending habits of willing consumers? That's the challenge for this argumentation. We can call it out. We can say that we think it's bad. We can try to encourage people to not do it. But that is a giant, giant challenge, considering the way that these companies are going to be looking at the potential profit. I wouldn't call it wrong, says Sven. I would say it's something that folks in the West largely aren't going to jive with, but wrong is a subjective term. Eugene says they've 100% had a risk assessment team that's weighed public backlash versus potential profits. As consumers, you have to prove that risk assessment team is wrong. You can't do that if people can't see the issue. Telling them, screaming at them isn't enough. Cell phones are the single worst invention ever. Oh, you think cell phones are the worst invention ever? I don't think technology and inventions have, or I believe that they're amoral. I believe that they can be used in immoral ways, but I believe that they are amoral. They lack intrinsic morality. It's how they are used that can be bad. You could look at the radio, you could look at TV, you could look at music, you could look at any other form of entertainment and say that it is bad because of what it does to people, right? It has hurt us. It has hurt us for sure. I believe all technology has had both a positive and a negative impact on humanity, regardless of what levels you look. Even medicinal discoveries has led to the discoveries of biochemical warfare. So, but those medicinal discoveries have also saved lives, extended life expectancy of infants to the elderly, and all the way down the line.
I can almost guarantee you it absolutely will with that 2 steps forward, 1 step back maneuver. Last but not least, you got item packs, essentially bundles like the beginner's pack that costs $10 and includes a cosmetic weapon skin and 60 eternal orbs. There doesn't seem to be additional packs available at this time, but no doubt they're going to fill the store with that crap as they continue to milk and nickel and dime. The article finally asked the question, is Diablo Immortal a pay-to-win game? The response that they provided was not technically, in the sense that you do still have to put some work into the game on top of being able to pay to fast-track your progression, but it is most certainly a game that allows you to pay real money in order to make things significantly easier on yourself. I guess it depends on what your definition of pay-to-win is, but as far as I'm concerned, if any sort of monetization system affects your progression, affects gameplay, and gives you an edge compared to those who don't pay up, a significant advantage at that, yeah, it's as good as pay to win. The article.
So I agree with him. And I think their technical answer I find to be wanting. Sure, you can play the game and spend $0, but as I've tried to point out today, the microtransactions, the incentivization to spend money is so interwoven throughout the gameplay loop. As I've said so many times, content is king. The content loop is God. It must be treated as deity, and I believe this God is corrupt. And I believe that it will drive many people away at different thresholds, but I believe it ultimately will drive people away. Even everybody right now singing the game's praises and saying they're having a perfectly fine time, even the people that are saying like, oh, I'm playing free to play, I'm barely spending any money, this is totally acceptable. That is something that I do think is something that will happen. It will take time, over time, for more people to see those thresholds. I think so. And his definition of pay to win, I think, is one that works.
Straight up says that Diablo Immortal simply offers too many ways to spend money and circumvent the odds that other players have to live by. The fact of the matter is that someone who spends money on this game will be able to make their character significantly more powerful in far less time than someone who doesn't intend to spend any money on the game. It's almost as if you can pay to, what's the word? Win. Oh. This sentence right here, to me, that's the very definition of pay to win. And there's certainly not a sentiment that's just shared by me. Ars Technica published this article on June 1st, 2022, after playing some hours of Diablo Immortal. Impressions, a good smartphone game saddled with free-to-play nonsense and pay-to-win nonsense at that. Here we can see the ability to insert these crests, rare crests, or a legendary crest, the most desirable when it comes to odds of obtaining the best legendary gems. It's shown right here how you can add crests to the rifts that you partake in, and if you run out, of course, there's the buy more option that's right there conveniently for you to click on, and it's straight up stated in the screenshot itself, adding legendary crests guarantees legendary gem drops.
So this is the thing that if you've seen the clip, this is the clip floating around of Asmongold. He did it one way and he spent $20. He did it another way and he spent $0. And the difference is comical. It is actually comical. So that is that is something that I think that's a benefit of Asmongold doing what he's doing in exposing the pay structures,
which again serve as the end game pursuit of this game. And while rare crests can be earned in game, the legendary crests must be purchased with real world money. Now, Den of Geek said that legendary crests can be earned via Battle Pass, which has monetization attached to it, or in very, very rare occasions earned as in-game rewards. But for the most part, you are going to have to be purchasing them. They're certainly not going to be handing those out in enough quantities to non-paying players to make gameplay only a viable option for progression. The article also doesn't mince words when it comes to just how many currencies this game has and how confusing the layers of currencies are, and how this game continuously encourages you to check out the store to purchase resources that you're short on, as shown here. Legendary crest, tap to purchase. Whenever you're short on currency to do something in Diablo Immortal, Activision Blizzard offers a tappable tooltip icon that tells you can simply buy it instantly.
Okay, so I was going to say that, right? I was going to say that like I'm covering this game for 2 weeks now, and I still don't fully grasp how it all works because there's so much of it. It's hard to even grasp just how big it is. Does that make sense? It's like, have you ever been playing a video game and you're like going around a mountain? And you keep waiting for the moment that you finally completely come all the way around the mountain. And the further you go around it, the bigger it appears. And you're like, wow, this is a lot bigger than I initially expected. That's what this feels like. It's like the more we dive into the coverage of this game, it's like there's always another layer of money. There's always another way to spend, right? It's like you just keep rounding the corner. You just keep going around and you just keep finding more and more ways to spend money. And I have a hard time keeping it all under wraps of like, what exactly can you spend money on in this game? How much can you spend? Like, it's difficult to even keep it all to understand it all. It is, because there's so many ways for you to spend money.
Like plenty of mobile games, this game is pretty obnoxious about reminding you, hey, I can see that you're having an awful time because you're lacking resources. I wonder how that happened. Oh, by the way, you can spend money, give us money, and we can help you out there. We can solve the problem that we intentionally created so you would have to buy the solution. Now, the game does like to remind you that technically you can earn everything through gameplay. Activision Blizzard tells you some of this stuff can be crafted, but want it more quickly or with fewer restrictions. Cha-ching. It's basically the same justification that EA provides for FIFA loot boxes. They like to say, well, you can technically earn card packs via gameplay and purchasing them is optional. Except, having done the math, plenty of FIFA enthusiasts have discovered the years of grind that it would take for you to be able to progress to a point where you can match the paying players who have fast-tracked their way to getting the best players for their team. Same exact thing with Diablo Immortal. It'll take you way too much time, an unreasonable amount of time, to get the legendary gems that paying players would very quickly obtain. And even if you're paying, you'd have to pay an exorbitant amount of money because the odds are so awful. The article then delves into...
Okay, so he might get into it here. I think he gets into how, and I touched on this earlier, the more you, like, spending isn't really where it starts. Like, you spend just to get in the room and you see how bad the odds are. You know what I'm saying? So like, it's like you spend money just to open the door. It's like when you go to like a real predatory fair, you spend money to park and you spend money to get into the fair, and then they charge you ridiculous fees for each ride, right? Like, spending money just gets you in the door to see how bad it is.
Into further detail about the Boon of Plenty microtransaction subscription package. $10 per month, must be re-upped every month for its benefits to kick in. It offers a more extensive inventory for your active character's loot and increased perks for the game's player-to-player item sales marketplace. You also have to log in every day to claim your slew of in-game items, as they're treated as a daily login bonus. Miss a day, too bad. The thing you paid for vanishes. And then the cherry on top is that the Diablo Immortal marketplace is being compared to the Diablo 3 auction house, which was so poorly received that Blizzard was forced to shut it down and essentially rework their game to make progression less reliant on that auction house that ruined the gameplay loop of that title. And once the auction house disappeared, suddenly Diablo 3 became that much more fun to play. The way Ars Technica puts it is that Diablo Immortal's aforementioned player-to-player item sales marketplace was not active ahead of the game's public launch, but its menus and reliance on the paid platinum resource resemble Diablo 3's disastrous take on the concept. Now,
so for those of you who don't remember, there was an actual in-game auction house in Diablo 3. It was so bad, it led to account hacking, it led to bots, it led to people, trying to basically, they would try to get your account so they could run it as a bot and then they could sell it. Like, that was one of the main things that people were doing. And so that got so much hate that they removed it. Now, Diablo 3 turned a significant corner with the Loot 2.0 system and the seasonal content, and Diablo 3 is hailed as one of the more successful live service games in existence right now. And so many people forget that the auction house actually got removed because of the mounting criticism, the controversy, and all of the problems. So obviously people are hoping that if they, sound the alarm on Diablo Immortal, they can get some of this stuff to be adjusted. The concern obviously would be that there are so many whales in the pool that just simply won't happen. So
an Activision Blizzard representative argued against this when reached out to by Ars Technica, saying that the marketplace was designed for Diablo Immortal players to trade select items in exchange for platinum currency only. And while Ars Technica admitted that the market doesn't include the ability to buy select pieces of gear, you can still buy plenty of useful items from other players. So in this editor's experience, its items and materials contribute to the player's ability to add boosts and buffs to their equipment slots, which means it functions similarly to the acquisition of gear in other Diablo games. They still ultimately provide substantial benefits that makes us very much feel like the abhorred auction house system from Diablo 3. Which then takes us to this Forbes article, which
we're not going to look at. We are not going to look at that article. So that's most of Yong's video. How much of the video? Okay, so we watched 17 minutes of the 26-minute video. So the final 10 minutes we're not going to watch because he reads through an article, and I don't have no interest in seeing that article. So, the fundamental problem with this is that it's everywhere. It's not as if it's just PvP. It's not as if it's just, going to affect leaderboards or certain competitions. It is at every level of the game. It's in every piece, it's in every part. Now let me show you a response from Wyatt Chang. So Wyatt Chang has responded to somebody's criticism. I believe this is the You Guys Don't Have Phones guy. I think it's him. It might not be. I'm not sure if that was him that had to stand up and deal with the angry crowd. He says, "Hey Ziz." So he's responding to Zizarin. "I have been pretty upfront in many interviews, though apparently not in this post, that gear was the 12 item slots. In many interviews, I also clearly state that money can advance gems and legendary gems. I'm sorry this wasn't clear. Not being able to buy gear, the 12 slots, or XP remains important to the team. For what it's worth, I appreciate you checking out the game. I look forward to your Path of Exile content and guides, which I have always enjoyed." So, I want to see exactly what he's responding to. Okay, so Zizarin. Okay. Did he respond back, or did that guy... I'm just going to try and see how much he responded. Not seeing it. Let me just go to Candleson. Let me just go to Candleson's account and see if I can find exactly what he was responding to. Okay, here it is. Okay, let me get this pulled up for you. Let's get the actual tweet thread. Tweet Tweets and replies. Let's scroll down and okay. So here's the original tweet. Open image in a new tab. F11. I'm just gonna have to roughly do this for you guys. So this is the post in question. Let me do one tap. There we go. I normally lurk here on Diablo. I like reading all the feedback and taking in the hot topics of the day. I think a reality check is warranted here. Almost all the facts presented in this post are fabricated. In Diablo Immortal, there is no way to acquire or rank up gear using money. Huh? There is no 50-50 system on rank upgrade. The link cited as proof do not link to proof of the assertions at all. You can choose from a variety of skin tones, including black, during character creation. I encourage everybody to form their own opinion of Diablo Immortal. It's a game myself and the team have poured years of bloody sweat into making. If you're curious about the microtransactions in the game, factual information is available elsewhere. You can check the game out. Okay, so hang on a minute. So that's what was tweeted. So this is what Zizaran said. So Zizaran says this. What happened, right? Let me make myself bigger here. It says, what happened in 4 months? Or are the gems not considered gear? And right here, he says, I've been pretty upfront. Now, this guy responded and says, literally one and the same. You get a piece of really great gear, and then you must spend a ton of money on gems for the gear to then be really great piece of gear, and that is what it's meant to be. You are essentially peddling a shell of game and a franchise. Great job. Did Zizaran respond at all to this? Let's see. I don't know if Zizaran responded. It doesn't look like he did. Lots of other people responded, though. So, yeah. It's... Apparently gems aren't gear, according to him. Right, like having that one layer of difference, right? Having that like one layer of difference of being like, well, you know, there's no way to acquire or rank up gear using money. Now hang on a minute. That's not true, though. You can rank up the gear with money, can you not? That's the part that I'm confused about. He says there is no way to acquire or rank up gear using money. You can't buy gear, you can just buy gems. Yeah, but isn't ranking up the gear? I don't understand. Isn't ranking up the gear literally what the gems are for? The most important part of your gear, the gems, they don't count. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, obviously it feels like semantic backflips to be like, no, you can't buy any gear. And it's like, well, what do you mean? I can buy gems and the gems directly affect the quality of my gear. It's through the gems that gear gets stronger. As long as they aren't specifically selling gear or XP, in his mind, it isn't pay to win. They're using semantics to get around what people are saying. Greg, can you get me a better screenshot? One that's not like an old person that forgot their glasses? Why is it so blurry? I want to show that on screen. gems end up affecting the power level in more ways. Gear rank simply adds a few points of stats, but gems add all kinds of power. So when he says there's no way to acquire or rank up gear using money, that's just not true, bro. Like, I'm sorry. This is not true. That's false. You 100% can rank up the gear and acquire gear with money. It's literally how the system's built. It's built upon the idea. It's built upon the idea. Thank you. Look at this screenshot of how the drop rates work. Look at this. Hang on. I gotta wait for the bigger one to hit my history. There it is. Look at this. Okay, so this is when your legendary gem drop rates can't even go above 2 stars outside of rare. So you need legendary crests, and then once you get all the way up to the 5 stars, like look how low the drop rate is. Now the pity system says after 50 legendary crests, you get 1 5-star legendary gem. After 50 legendary gems, they're the main source of the pay-to-win in Diablo Immortal. They can be found in Elder Rifts, and only if you have legendary crests or rare crests, which you can use to empower the rift. You can buy unlimited legendary crests in the shop with eternal orbs, a currency that must be paid for a 100% chance at a legendary gem to drop. There are virtually no sources for earning legendary crests for free. Rare crests can earn about 1 to 3 per day, but they have about a 10% chance of getting you a 1-star legendary gem to drop and a 2.5% chance to get a 2-star. So even this right here, like look at the drop rates next to them, you can't go beyond the 2-star, and that's the drop rates. You cannot get a 5-star legendary gem drop from a rare crest, so most free-to-play players will never see a 5-star gem. Free-to-play players do get a few legendary crests here and there, but a few isn't going to get you much due to the probabilities. Yeah, the drop rates are so bad, it's not going to make much of a difference. We've now gotten to 831 ratings on Metacritic. What Jeremy Thomas said, so 36 a year, which means you won't hit the pity system for more than a year. Wait, they limit how many of those you can even run? Is there an example of worse monetization? I don't know. This is worse than I thought it was going to be. I thought I was going to be able to eat around the fat and be like, I'll play free to play every once in a while with you guys. I don't know. Okay, Jeremy says you can craft a legendary gem, but it's capped at 3 times a month. Wait, so you can't even... As a free-to-play player, you can't even hit the pity until after a year and a half?
Free to play plus the battle pass is still a ton of fun. I know it's fun. I played the other day. I had a blast. I was like, this would be a great game for us to infrequently play because I can play it casually, but like, I don't know if I can. What nobody's talking about is the fact that I don't think there's content you even need 5-star gems for. Yet. The game came out and has a continued plan to evolve and expand. So yeah, yet. Now you don't know if you can play in good conscience. Yeah, I don't know if I can play and be like, yeah, I'm fine to show this game to the audience and have fun and have a clan. I don't know if I can do it and keep my conscience clean. I'm not telling you what to do. If you're playing a game and enjoying it, that's fine. I have a platform and a brand to consider. I really do. I don't know. It's 100% gear, says Hanbro, says Greg. If they're going to be required and used to get what you want with anything in the future. Mm-hmm. Plan will be 5 gems. Diablo has literally been developed on the principle that we grind for the best gear, not good enough gear. Yeah, the audience playing these games aren't going to accept that you don't need it. They're not going to accept that. No. I don't think so. I really and truly don't. I don't think you can expect Diablo fans to just be like, no, that's fine. You can 100% buy rank up materials with platinum. That's what I'm saying. He said on that forum that you could not buy gear or rank up gear with money. That's not true. You totally can. You 100% can. I don't understand why he said that. It's literally how it's designed. A fan of this genre, which game would you recommend? Diablo Immortal or Lost Ark? I didn't get far enough in Lost Ark to tell you the presence of what the spending does to that game. I've had way more people talk about this. It's egregious as F, says Eugene. I'm usually on the other side of the if people are willing to pay, can't blame them. I remember watching my cousins and myself grind for hundreds of hours in Diablo 2 for a 0.1% increase. That's pretty much the blanking premise of Diablo and looters in general. Yeah, I would just play Path of Exile or Diablo 3 if you're looking for this style of game. I really, really would. That's what I would do. That's exactly what I would do. I would play Path of Exile or Diablo 3 seasonal characters. Check out Last Epoch, says Wheezy. Now, somebody said our poll doesn't make sense. So the poll is asking the question, is exposing Diablo Immortal pay to win going to help make the game make more money? People were saying that Asmongold promoting the game, playing the game, showing off the game, showing off the spending that you can do, people were saying that he was going to get, like, he was essentially helping the game, is what folks were saying. I don't agree, and I wanted to see what chat thinks. These guys that are drawing attention to the game, making videos about the game, we're covering it. We did a video just this morning on it, right? We did a video just this morning on it, and
the question is that coverage, is the way that he's going in and he's spending that money and showing people how much it costs, that's the question. Is that going to drive more money to Diablo Immortal? I say no. I don't think so. I think if anything, it's going to dissuade mid lanes and would-be purchasers that would like spend a little bit of money here and there, but fundamentally seeing his videos are going to be like, F no. Like, I'm not doing that. Like, this is ridiculous. Like, I feel like he's ripping the veil off and saying, look at how absurd the game is. Like, I applaud what Asmongold is doing. I don't fault him at all. A better question would be, is spending money on Diablo Immortal a good way to show how bad the game is? I think you have to really nuance that, though, Cobain. I think you have to say to what degree. Like, me spending $5 on the Battle Pass didn't do anything to expose the game, okay? If anything, it showed how easy it is to boot up, play, and become a spender. It was super easy. I was playing and having fun, and $5 got me a cool thing. It's everywhere. It's in every section of the game. So it was easy for me to be like, well, $5 for the Battle Pass, that scratches me where I itch. Now, somebody who likes running rifts might be like, well, I'll spend money for the rift. Somebody who sees the currency or the loot boxes or, they see the chances to increase their gear and stuff. They might be like, oh, I'll spend here, I'll spend here, I'll spend there. It's hitting you from 8 different angles. I don't mean just spending a little bit of money. That's why I said you got to qualify it. So, like, I say whale spending with the intention of exposing how bad it is, I think actually helps people see I shouldn't play this game or play this money. If you're trying to show how insidious something is, you have to engage with it. How many people spent that $5 because they had no warning? Would you spend that $5 now? No, I wouldn't, Zubair. No. I would not. I would not spend that $5. If I had seen the full breadth of this, I honestly kept saying the same thing. I was like, bro, I'm going to avoid PvP. None of this matters to me. None of this matters to me. I'm just going to play and be casual. And then I start seeing these videos, and I start seeing this, and I start seeing that. And I'm like, no, what? Huh? What? This is way worse than I thought. We had somebody start a clan. I was considering playing it once a week. Like, yeah, I was going to play it today. I was going to play it today. Calipolis, we do not accept that kind of negative commentary in my chat. Rise to intelligent dialogue and do not insult people on their looks or their ethnicity. That is not welcome here. Stop that. You didn't get a reaction the first time you said it, now you're trying it again. So do it again, and we can make things more permanent. I'd buy the Battle Pass again in a heartbeat, says Meech. It gives me great rewards if you actually play the game. I'm thinking from a content creator's perspective, Meech. I have said many times today, if I had a traditional job, if I was a traditional work-a-day dad, I would be playing this game. I would have spent that money. I wouldn't care who Asmongold is. I wouldn't care about any of this crap. And I'd be playing, and I would have spent the $5, and I would have gotten my worth out of the game. No doubt in my mind, I would have got my $5 worth. As a content creator, I can't do it. I can't play this game and be like, oh no, yeah, you can spend $5 and have a good time. I can't do it. I can't. I have to take a principled stance. I'm not telling you to take a principled stance. I myself have to take the principled stance. It's why I've never done a Raid Shadow Legends commercial or advertisement. And even now, I've gotten some offers that were very nice. Back when I was doing things and had much larger turnout for certain game and another life, right? I was getting offered thousands of dollars to do sponsored Raid Shadow Legends, and I refused. I said no, it's not worth it, and I can't put this game on display any longer. I can't do it. It's not something I feel comfortable doing with my platform. As a content creator, I see why you're so conflicted. Maybe this can be a game you play on the toilet in secret. Right. I have a lot of respect for turning down Raid as well. No shade to anybody that does Raid Shadow Legends. Listen, no shade intended. Me personally, I can't do it. I dropped G Fuel for similar reasons on a principled stance. I wasn't anti-G Fuel, but I dropped G Fuel. I did. I dropped G Fuel because of a principled stance I have as a daughter. I have a daughter with an egg allergy, and as with a kid with a pretty severe allergy, we take labels and ingredients very seriously. And I went with a company that was open label, right? So. No. We need to. Okay, I almost deleted that. Yeah, I don't know if that's the right that's the right route is to be getting Congress involved, because like you're saying, people in Utah are firmly against gambling. Is raid pay to win? Yeah, fairly certain. Been playing raid for 2 years, never dropped $1, always have things to do. I am totally fine with you playing a game like that and enjoying it as you know, whether you're a mature adult or a sensible young woman or young man that can have that control. I cannot in good conscience, you know, as a dad, promote a game that I know young children fall prey to. I can't do it. As a content creator, promoting and providing positive feedback to a game like this would be a gateway for people to spend unhealthy amounts of money, so I can see why it would weigh on your conscience. I have kids. We don't get into this, but like I'm at a church, right? And there's community members there that have kids, and they ask me about these sorts of things. They ask me about the practices in the industry. They ask me about like things that they should be leery of with their kids, because they don't have the time to be educated or to go out and seek out education on it. They're all working, they're all busy, and they've got kiddos. So I'm always trying to say, to, you know, stay away from X or stay away from Y for sure. I'm a father too. I do tell my kids about these games, etc. I just play them for time killers. Right, and that's totally fine. Like, as a dad, you play it, your eyes are wide open, you're intelligent enough to not spend a dime, but you would never hand it to them with the credit card attached to it, because you know what would happen. You know what would happen. You'd be like, in a week, you'd get the bill and be like, oh shoot, right? Because they don't have that presence of mind. They don't have that sense of cause and effect. They don't have that sense of cost yet. Kids just don't get it. At this point, we can't get it done ourselves anymore. I guess we can't have nice things, so I guess we need the government to come in. Which, yeah, I don't. Don't start to protect the kids BS with these games. I'm not saying that we need to go out and try and like protect the kids. I don't want to use my platform that could lead to somebody of a younger generation hooking in and spending money, right? Like, I do think that parents should be far more invested and far more responsible for like what their kids are doing. But as Eugene is saying, kids are not the target audience, because you need people with disposable income. Yeah, just their parents' wallets. But if you can get kids at an early age to be comfortable with this kind of thing, what are they going to do when they're an adult? My son asked me about buying some gacha stuff in Dragon Ball Z mobile game. I had already warned his mother about microtransactions in video games. Even I spend way more than I know I do, sometimes to a fault. I genuinely wouldn't mind this game if it was 21 plus. This game teaches kids how fun gambling is. Just one thing to say, Lono, because you can literally play the game to its end, the campaign, without paying a dime. The problem starts when you hit level 55. Along comes the end game stuff. Omar, that's exactly my concern, is like, I kept saying, oh, well, I'll stay away from the PvP. I'll just play through the campaign. I'll just play through and have a good time. And that's just not the case. If you guys wanted to see my reaction to Yongyea, it's at the beginning of this video. It's about an hour long. We've been streaming for an hour and a half, so you may have clicked because of the thumbnail or the title. You'll have to rewind to see me interact with his video. What exactly would your ideal solution be to get something done if you don't want government oversight? Yeah, I don't know. You know, I don't know. I don't think... The problem is, it's like, you need a bigger fish. You need something bigger in the pond to step in and help. We aren't big enough. We don't have the sway that we need. You know what I'm saying? I don't have a great answer to your question. I don't. I don't have a great answer to your question. I do think we could start with something as simple as Netherlands and Belgium and just say, hey, we agree with these people. Loot boxes shouldn't be allowed in video games. You know? It just shouldn't. Like, that level of spending for a chance at something, that should be reserved for, you know, monitored and legislated environments like scratch-offs and casinos. It shouldn't be in video games. I would think that's where you would start. I have never been against people being able to buy something in a game if they want, but the more I've looked at loot boxes, the more I'm like, I just don't know if this belongs in gaming. I think this belongs in a very specific environment where it's very clear it's intended for adults, with percentage chances being right in front of your dadgum face. And even then, I don't know if that's enough. If loot boxes are banned, then shouldn't gambling in general be banned? At the very least, we could take a look at the loot box legislation that we already have and make sure it's proper. Like, you should only be able to put loot boxes in games rated mature. You should only be able to put loot boxes in a game if all of the percentage chances on the items are clearly in front of your face. Right? That's the first thing we should do. I don't necessarily think we need to ban them entirely, but like, that needs to be very, very, you know, regulated. Hard to compare it to gambling when they provide a minimum value and no risk of loss. I think, I don't know. My thinking on this has shifted a little bit. I used to be like, it's not a big deal. If people want to spend the money, they want to spend the money. Da-da-da-da-da-da. We don't want a bunch of government oversight. But I think loot boxes, you should only be able to have these in mature rated games because it's intended for adults. It should not be something that children have access to unless, again, a parent can buy a mature game for their kid, but then that's on the parent at that point. As what Zubair is saying, if you label and silo, then you put the responsibility on the parents. It's the same line of thinking I've used with the Purple Platform and how the Purple Platform has adult-rated content in view of 13-year-old public. So it should be properly labeled as adult content. It's mature content. A woman in a bikini, you know, shaking her butt for money, that is adult content. You typically would have to go to, you know, a pole dancer or strip joint, you know, facility to see that type of entertainment, and you would never let minors in the door. I use the same argumentation with the Purple Platform as I would right here. You know, I think I have no issue with Amaranth. I think what Amaranth does is her own business, but I don't think it should be in view on a 13-year-old rated website. It should be properly labeled. It should be labeled as mature adult content. And if you're going to put loot boxes in your game, I believe that is a mature adult transaction. That is not something that should be in like a rated teen or rated E for everyone game. I don't agree with that. You can disagree with me. That's completely fine, right? That's completely fine, but I think that's the route that we should be taking. I don't think banning, you know, loot boxes is the way, because games would just find, you know, creative ways to get around it. I think, again, you properly label it and say, listen, this is what this is. It's a chance at an item. It's a form of spending your money for a chance at something, and therefore should be properly labeled. And if it's properly labeled, then the person should know exactly what they're potentially getting. Oh, a 0.001% chance I get a gold? I want to piggyback off you to state that if you look at the ESRB ratings, it already states online interactions not rated by ESRB. That's where companies may get away with it, and that needs to be reevaluated. That needs to be reevaluated. I have no problem with the government stepping in and saying, consumer protection is a thing, and we should be protecting the consumer here. They should know what it is. It should be properly labeled as a mature game because it has that in it, and they should know the exact percentage chances of what they're going to get. Same rules that you apply on a scratch off. It's the same thing. Now, baseball cards and sticker packs. Right. Have they done that yet? When you buy a pack of Pokemon cards, did they have to put those percentages on that? I don't know. That's another environment that would likely be affected by this type of legislation, because people would say, listen, you know, people are buying these packs of cards, whether it's Pokemon or Yu-Gi-Oh or whatever, and the chances of getting a really good card are at such and such a percentage, and the consumer should know that. Good luck with that online ESRB rating. Every game is M. People should still know what's in the game. Looking at sports and the rise of Sport Kings etc., gambling has never been more accessible. Hard to think gambling can go against that. Oh, gaming can go against that momentum. There's definitely consumer protection angles, but you got to avoid the gambling aspect. It's too easily attacked. It's not a good argument. What you mean, Eugene, is it too easy for them to get out from under the claim of gambling? Is that what you mean? Like, they'll just get out from underneath and be like, no, our game doesn't have gambling. Right? Is that what you're saying? Today on the rundown. Oh, that's good stuff. That's good stuff. Good work, Creature. I should have sent him a DM. I didn't get any prep work done last night because everything's fine. Everything's fine. But my wife took our daughter to an emergent care, and that destabilized my whole evening. It's such an easy way to prove loot boxes gambling. You lose efficacy in your argument. Well, can't you label it as something else? Shouldn't anything that you buy, shouldn't a consumer, even those little toys that you buy, right? And it's like a little pack and you rip it open and you don't know what you're going to get. You don't know which Marvel character you're going to get. Shouldn't consumers say any item that is purchased that is unknown, the contents are unknown, and there is a percentage chance of getting certain items, shouldn't the consumer ask to know those chances? Don't label it as gambling, but just say, listen, this is a new type of consumable good or service. No, not service. This is a new product type. You can literally go to Target right now, and there's a thing. You reach in the box, you pull out a pack, you have no idea who's inside. No idea. So we don't label it gambling, but we need another terminology to describe these types of a good. We would call them, I don't know, what would you call them? Chance items? Is buying a card pack gambling? No, but it's a chance item. So you'd want to label it appropriately and say, this is a chance item, and the consumer has a right to know the chances. They have a right to be informed. To the same degree that you have a right to know what's in your food because you need to know to stay safe, you have a right to know what's inside the box because, as far as the chances go, because you have a right to be informed prior to purchase of what exactly you're buying. You're buying a chance. How much of a chance are you buying? Yeah, blind box purchases maybe? You have to call it something. Don't call it gambling because, again, it's really easy for them to weasel out of that one. Like McDonald's kids meal prizes. That's a little bit different because I think everybody just knows when you go there, they're just rotating through the toys. And you can literally ask them before buying it, by the way. Hey, what toys are you putting in the Happy Meal today? Is it Mickey Mouse? Is it Daisy? Is it Donald? Who is it? And they'll be like, it's Daisy. You'll be like, we already have Daisy. No thanks. And you can refuse to buy. Like you can literally ask that. They will always tell you. It's not like McDonald's refuses to tell you. The person on the mic will always tell you what toys they're giving away. Hey, is it Sonic, Tails, or Knuckles? They'll be like, it's Knuckles. You're like, oh, yes, we don't have Knuckles yet. And then you buy. You can be an informed consumer on a McDonald's Happy Meal. That's my point is, you got no freaking clue what's in that, Marvel trinket box. Do I have one down here? We did them once for our kid's birthday. We just bought a box of them, and we were going to, we did them as party favors. I could guess who was in the bag by feeling it, but most people aren't going to do that in the store. Mom bought me so many Happy Meals back then. Mm-hmm. Yeah, people would come in just to buy the toys. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. By definitions, loot boxes are not gambling. You always get something, even if the value is terrible. That's why loot boxes were designed that way, to fall outside the scope of gambling. Yeah, like if you buy a pack of cards, you still get something. It's not like a scratch off where you give them money, you get $0. It's not like you pulling down the slot machine and getting $0. You get something. Sometimes when I roll the dice at the tables, I get something terrible. It's still gambling. No, what they mean, creature, is that you walk away from the transaction with an item. Now, casinos could get really creative here. You could have slot machine casinos that could get I wonder if they could get around this, where you'd have a slot machine that if you win $0, it gives you some form of a tangible item as a way to say, well, it's not actually gambling. Is that a loophole that casinos could start to utilize? Oh, well, even when you don't win money, you win this. You win an item of a certain amount of value. You know, a ticket or something. Gambling implies you either win or lose. Loot box guarantees that you always win. It just isn't something that you want. Casinos do it with token mechanics. Do they get outside of legislation if they do that? That way you always get something? Has that been a thing that they've done? The Iowa lottery does this, but it's gambling, so they have to provide the statistical odds of winning the jackpot. Was this invented by Magic the Gathering folks? I mean, sports cards existed, but then they weren't used in a game to win after purchase. Yeah, but they still had perceived value. Most slot machines these days give you a small plush item or dumb thing. The difference between card packs, though, and digital goods is that card packs, you're getting something physical. Yeah, but I don't know in this day and age, 30, if that's a strong enough distinction to work, because the skins that you get in Fortnite are... it's not a physical item, but at the end of the day, what's a Pokemon card? It's a piece of cardboard that's been printed on. It's not really anything of actual value. It's a potential perceived value. I don't think the difference between a digital and a physical item is the route to take. I don't think that distinction in 2022 is strong enough to help with the argument. It's still worth something. Because the perception of value is where the worth is derived. You can't take a cardboard Pokemon card and do anything with it. Other than throw it in a fire for, like, if you're trying to do like a bonfire, I suppose you could use it as like a raw material. But like, the perception of the value is up to the consumer, same as the skin in Fortnite. The item's value is subjective to the consumer. The idea being you still get something. So I think the argument to make is you call them blind box items. An item where the consumer is purchasing something and doesn't know the contents, they should be informed at the chances of the items inside. Some sort of phrasing like that. Any blind box purchase should be required for the sake of consumer protection to inform the consumer about, what are the chances of what they're going to get. A knife in CSGO is just bits of data. You can sell them for tens of thousands of dollars. Great turnout today, says Kat. Don't forget to hit the like button. That's right. A physical card can't lose its value, though, as it's always there. Digital skin will die off if the game dies off. No, well, hang on, Cliff. No. A physical card's value is still dependent upon whether or not people care about that game. If some new monster collector cropped up and it was called Monbox, and everybody thought Monbox was the new hottest thing, and you bought a bunch of Monbox cards, and then a year later Monbox was shuttered and shut down, the value of those items immediately diminishes and goes away unless you can find some collector that just wants relics of the past. The Monbox being discontinued goes away. The card can get ruined or wet. People can be like, oh, that Monbox is super common. Everybody has the snakehead lion Monbox. Yeah, we don't want that. That's crap. So the value of the item is still subjective and dependent upon the external value of the market saying yes or no to it, or maintaining it or sustaining it. The value of the card or the cards are also based on the number of them printed, which you should be fully aware of when purchasing, is kind of what I'm arguing, right, Mike? It's like you're going to buy a blind box and you say, oh, the chances of you getting the snakehead lion is like a 95%, and we've printed 1 million of them. No, not Mom Box, like Mon Box, like Monster Box. I just made up a company. I was just saying, quick, make a fortune, right, Cliff? Just use MTG. Cards can immediately diminish when it rolls out of standard. Yeah, they could just decide to be like, hey, that really rare one that we were printing, yeah, we've decided to print more of them. You know, we've decided to print more of them, and they just decided to print a junk ton more of them. And when you do that, it's undeniable that you know the person who got it or bought it was operating under an assumption, and then that assumption gets destroyed because or the presumption or the assumption gets destroyed. I just subbed. You're welcome. Thank you. I used to buy whole boxes of superhero cards trying to get the hologram cards. Better odds than buying random packs. We know you made up a company, Reforge Entertainment, but we love it. Hence why companies are pushing NFTs. Yeah, because digital goods are unlimited, and NFTs would, undoubtedly be limited because they would receive perpetual income on the trades of those goods, and the trades of those goods, the likelihood increases the fewer that are in circulation, which means you're going to turn games with NFTs on their cosmetics are going to turn into NFT trading homes, basically. Always. There's no way around it. I can't see NFTs not doing that. Yeah, it's Reforge Media. Thank you very much. Yeah, things that get printed wrong. Yeah, a company would figure it out and flood the market with the misprint to lower the value of the item. Yeah. Yep. I think the problem is that originally, and perhaps even in the eyes of card manufacturers, cards are mainly bought for collectibles and for playing, and not necessarily directly for resale value. They don't make the cards as a way for you to make money off of them. That's maybe changed in the last few years. Yeah, but that's organic to the market. That's an emergent property, isn't it, Zubair? Like, that's not something those companies intended. That's an emergent property that they can't be held accountable for. So they're not responsible for maintaining the perceived or potential value of a rare card or a misprint or anything like that. They're in the business of selling cards as collectibles and or playing cards within a game. And if the market decides to create a trading environment or trade market, that's extra. Right? That's the difference between like Diablo launching with an auction house and people doing it on their own. Right? Lono's making me so proud today I'm going to cry. So you can't hold them necessarily liable for that. Because it's not something that they designed, it's something that happened after the fact. Like the people going to freaking McDonald's and buying all the Pokemon cards, like that clearly was something almost grassroots that happened. That wasn't something that was intended to happen when they said, "Hey, let's get some Pokemon cards and do a McDonald's campaign." Watch Demo and Kim's review of Diablo Immortal. I mean, I've watched enough videos to know that, what people think. I mean, I don't know why I would particularly watch him. I mean, I think he's done good stuff with a couple of games, but like, I don't have the opportunity to consume this limitless content. You got to give me a reason to watch it. Much as I dislike microtransactions, I'm enjoying buying packs in Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel. Oh no, Robert. If I would have kept all the money I've wasted, then I'd be able to be a whale in Diablo Immortal and max out every character. If only I would have saved all my money, There was a local place me and my brothers would walk to where you could trade cards in and buy packs of cards, and he had his own cards for sale. And man, he was not very nice. I don't think he appreciated kids coming in, I don't think he appreciated kids coming in. It's pretty common. It's pretty common that, kids would go in and probably pester him and ask for things and, hope to get an amazing deal. And he's like, "No, man." I wonder if that's true. I can't comment. Sorry, I was reading something in spoiler plate. I play Magic the Gathering. I normally buy a box of each new set. I can normally sell 1 to 5 cards from each set to cover the whole endeavor. Yo, what's good, Feed? Good to see you in the chat. I have to be honest. I'm going to compare this to looter shooters like Warframe or Anthem, but this is way worse. This is way worse than this garbage game. I'm not sure what you mean. We had swindlers. Schindlers growing up to trade cards. I pulled 2 ghost rares from Yu-Gi-Oh's Ghost from the past 2. Set that. If sold, could have covered most of the 2 boxes that I bought. Huh. Could we get 300 likes on this video? That would be spectacular. Let's get 300 likes on the video. I was into comics in the late 80s and early 90s. The birth of the special edition and the limited variant. I may own 6 copies of X-Men #1. Really? One of each cover? It's pretty brilliant how some of those companies decided to do a lot of that stuff. It makes sense if you think about it. It makes perfectly good sense. Okay, that one just went live. Okay. So we don't have to worry about premieres or redirects today. Okay. Yeah, we may end up having to go early. Give me a second. I'm going to quickly go upstairs, refill my water, and I'll be right back. I'm going to hit some ads. Consider becoming a member. You can gift members. You can buy coffee. You can use my code at 80s Tees. The current shirt command will take you to their Father's Day collection. Just be sure to use code LONO for 30% off. I almost never hit ads on the channel except for when I get up to stretch my legs and use the restroom. So that's why we promote the paid memberships with extra content for members. If you got gifted a membership last week or today, remember to please get in the Discord. We don't want to see anybody missing out on the members-only content. If you become a brand new member today, you can go back and watch the VOD of my wife playing Elden Ring for the first time. It was a fantastic Friday night. Every Friday night we have a really good time. And this month's community game night is Fall Guys, which will be completely free to play on every platform except for mobile. It's going to be on every platform free to play on June 21st. On June 24th, right? On June 24th, we are doing community game night with Fall Guys, all right? So make sure you are fully ready for that. Your update video just uploaded, and it's just called Title Topic. That might have been a glitch in the Matrix. I'm seeing it's Spider-Man Remastered coming to PC. Maybe YouTube didn't save it properly or something. It's looking good to me. So, all right, I'll be right back. I'm gonna hit some ads. Don't go anywhere. We still have Reforge Radio and a rundown of gaming news for you. We haven't covered gaming news today. We just did two pay-to-win topics, really. We reacted to Yong's video. We had a great morning this morning, so I'll be right back. Oh my goodness. Okay. Do we have a blip, or were we that low before I left? We must have been that low before I left. I thought we were still in the 400s before I left. E3 isn't coming back. I don't think E3 is going to stay gone. I just don't think it'll ever come back as a gaming event. It won't be gaming focused. I think there's other potentials for their business contacts and their reach and their budget, and as an organization, I think they can still do something. A trade show for digital goods just doesn't make sense anymore. People need to see the TVs and pick up new phones. You don't need to be in person to see software, right? Yeah, 431. Man, yeah, we took a big hit on that ad break. Usually we don't get hit that hard. The real question here is the bad pay to win and the rest of the bad stuff in Diablo Immortal. Will it put players off buying Diablo 4? Myself, I'm done, Blizzard. Thanks for wrecking a game franchise. Yeah, I don't know if that's going to be... GNS, I'm not saying you shouldn't do what you think is right, but I don't know how many people are going to agree with you and do that. You know what I'm saying? Like, how many people are going to take it to that extreme, especially if Diablo 4 looks good, if Diablo 4 looks promising and fun. You know, is anybody going to go that far and take it that seriously? D4 will be the biggest selling game. Yeah, it's just been waited for such a long time. I don't know. I don't think it's going to be very, very common. I bet big fans are going to hold out hope that Diablo 4 will be good and that this was just a blip. People are hopeful by nature. Well, and I think people... Here's something you have to remember. People have been waiting for Diablo 4 a lot longer than Diablo Immortal was even a thing, right? We can go to radio early if needed. I wrote up a short show and put in radio topics. Also, it'd be a good day to end early, not want to do good numbers. Yeah, so dates. First looks to record. Yeah, I kind of agree with you. Creature. It's one of those, like, get in and get out kind of days is what it feels like to me, you know? Because, like, we're at 2 hours already, honestly. Both streams were stellar, and we're just belaboring the point. We just didn't... I was going to do a third stream today of just more Diablo Immortal gameplay, but I just don't think it's the right choice. I just don't think it's the right choice, personally. I don't want to do it. After everything we covered this morning and the strong turnout and all the people subbing for my coverage this morning, it would just feel silly, you know, to turn around and to play the game, you know. I don't know. That's just my own personal take on the matter. The content's tuned for spending lots of money. You cannot play endgame and push without spending money. Well, and there are people that are saying that they don't agree with that. They think that you can play and then spend almost nothing. You know? And they're probably correct to a certain degree. You know what I mean? Lono out here being true to yourself and guns. Let's make it a From Monday stream. You didn't get ads. You won't always get ads when I do an ad break. It's regionally based, so some people just don't see any. No, I'm thinking we can head over to radio, because if we're over there for about an hour and a half, that'll get us to the 3:30 mark. We've usually been ending somewhere between 3 and 4:30, somewhere in that window. It's just, it's not worth dragging streams out to make them longer than they need to be, especially when there's lots to be done and lots of things that we can be covering. So there is a ton of gaming news happening right now. Fortnite Chapter 3 Season 3 officially ended. There's an official reveal that Call of Duty has announced, which is just a couple days from now. Marvel Midnight Suns leaks have suggested there's more things going on with the characters, as well as pre-order information, stuff on Summer Games Fest, stuff on the Xbox Bethesda showcase. So we actually have quite a bit of gaming news to cover, and we had a solid day. The primary difference between this channel and Reforge Radio is that this channel is topic driven and gameplay driven, and Reforge Radio is news driven, right? So there's a lot of gaming news. If I just rattled off stuff that's interesting to you, whether it's Fortnite, the event they did, Call of Duty, the Marvel Midnight Suns content, Summer Games Fest, the Xbox Bethesda Showcase, make sure you're obviously sub to this channel for all the Summer Game Fest coverage that we'll be doing. But also, I'm going to redirect you over to radio. We're going to shift gears to The Rundown. And The Rundown's a daily show that we do on Reforge Radio, where we run down through the news. Now, on Mondays, we are going to start doing a show with my wife once we hit 200 members over there. It's a separate channel with separate perks, and it's a separate funnel. Primarily, if you're going to do a membership, we say to do it here on Reforge Gaming. But Reforge Radio is kind of like an after party. It's kind of like an end-of-the-day show with lots of gaming news. The vibe is very different, and we want to just make sure it gives us the opportunity to cover lots and lots of gaming coverage. Let me remove that. That's not a helpful link because I pasted it twice. So the link is in chat where we are headed. I am also going to redirect you. You shouldn't have to do anything. You can just spend the day with me. We give you tons of content here, topic-driven content, gameplay-driven content here on Reforge Gaming. And then we head over to Reforge Radio for news-driven content. And then once a week over on Reforge Radio, we do the Reforge Roundtable. That's every Friday. So make sure and ride the redirect and subscribe over there if you want more great gaming news content. Thanks so much for watching today. I hope you enjoyed my Yongyea reaction video that we just did. I thought it was good. I thought it was enjoyable. We're going to continue doing content like this if it gets a positive response. This is our second one, and it felt like it went really, really well. So thanks for the massive support and the massive day. Stick around. Don't go anywhere. You'll get redirected to our next show. Appreciate you guys so much watching all the Reforge channels.